It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
Well, Jay, just like that, the season has come to an end. A little bit of a anticlimactic end to the season as the Mammoth lose 5-1 at home to the Golden Knights. I was there for the first couple periods. Look, there's a lot to celebrate about the season. It was kind of a dud tonight, though. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it just didn't feel like the same Mammoth team tonight. Outside of that Yamamoto goal, what got a little bit of people fired up, but for the most part, this wasn't one of the better games in this series.
No, it wasn't. I have to keep reminding myself how excited we were at the beginning of the season that the Mammoth goal was to make playoffs, so that we were going to see Stanley Cup playoffs come to the Delta Center. And remember that first night of Game 3 and just how amazing the energy was. But the takeaway from a lot of this, there are obviously some things that have to change. For some reason, I believed in it. When they scored, when Yamamoto scored, I thought, okay, here comes the Mammoth comeback. Here comes what we come to expect from the Mammoth is more fight, more grit. I saw some uncharacteristic mistakes from Ian Cole and just some weird turnovers. But you also got to give Vegas a lot of credit. I mean, they came out really ready to go. They had a really good game plan. But it just didn't feel right. A lot of it just wasn't feeling right. But I think Utah has to say we got what we came for the most part. Obviously, they wanted to win, but they got the experience. And now they realize one thing that playoffs will show you is where your weaknesses are and what things need to be fixed right away. And you can get through a regular season with every game counts, but they don't count like they count in playoffs. That's why they call it the second season. It's completely different. So yeah, it just felt like a weird effort. What was it like in the building tonight? Were you feeling the same vibe from the crowd?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it felt like I wasn't there for Game 4. I was there for Game 3, and right from the jump, it had that Game 3 feel. I mean, it was electric. It was awesome. And there early, Utah had some scoring opportunities, but just couldn't get anything to go. So you're down 1-0. Okay, that's fine. You're getting near the end of the second period. And what really deflated that building was that shift that went over 2 minutes where Utah couldn't clear, and finally Marner's able to get the goal. And at that point, it just felt like, because it wasn't just the goal, but the fact that shift went so long, the Mammoth looked like they were dead out there, and that really felt like it put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, anytime. Well, goal number 1, we talked about before, blue line turnovers. There was a weird exchange between Sergachev and Kraus. Kraus didn't see the pass coming. It was a blue line turnover that we've talked about. And then a goal in the final minute of a period is just a no. It just deflates your team. You go in the locker room and you're mad about yourself. You're deflated. You're mad about how it happened. It's an unhealthy locker room situation. But yeah, it seemed like the game was really close until that second goal got scored. But then, like I said, the Mammoth scored a goal, and I thought, all right, maybe here they go. Just looking at the stats again, the last 2 games, it was basically even, and they turned out to overtime games. And this time, Vegas dominated all the stats. They did go 1 for 2 on the power play, and I wouldn't mind talking about the power play in a second if you want. But 26 shots on goal. Vegas was 61% on faceoffs. They scored out of 50% on their 1 out of 2 on their power play. 6 penalty minutes, 31 to 38 hits. So Utah out-hit them again, which surprised everybody going into playoffs. Nobody thought that Utah could step up physically. And I think they showed that they could step up physically, maybe not always at the right time, and maybe there's a little too much emotion with some of it. But what killed them was the 20 giveaways.
Yeah.
20 giveaways that Utah had to Vegas's 12. And it just didn't feel right. I got to keep reminding myself that that's okay. That's it never feels good to lose. It never feels good to see the handshakes in your own building. But, all in all, great season. A lot to learn, and some weaknesses were discovered that they're going to fix right away. One of the coolest things, though, I'll just throw this in there. I was watching it. I'm in Tennessee right now, and I was watching it on TV, and I listened to Mark Messier in between periods talking about how this Utah team is surprising everybody, that they're stubborn and so well coached that, he said there's a lot of young talent on this team that a lot of people don't know, but they will soon. And they got to know him a little bit better in this playoff series. They didn't get swept. Vegas 1-6, and it's all in all, it's a good outing.
Yeah, and I think that's the emotions are a little raw now, especially considering the losses when you led in in Game 4 and Game 5. So that's going to sting, and then how this one ended, I think will certainly hurt a little bit. But I think once you're able to decompress and really look back on the season, there's a lot to be really fired up about, but a lot to work on. And you mentioned the power play. I think Utah ended this series 1 of 16 or 1 of 15 on power plays, and it just almost in that building when with a power play happened, it was almost like a condescending cheer, like, oh boy, yay! I know we're supposed to be happy about it, but we don't really anticipate anything good happening here. And so it was it was really tough, and really people kind of expected that it wasn't going to go well.
Yeah, and that's a frustrating thing. You get that Bronx cheer in your own building for your power play. It's a bad sign, and I think that's the first place Utah has to look. And you got Forsyth, who's been he's a Stanley Cup winner as a power play coach, but it's just not working. It didn't work all year. It didn't even if you look at over the whole course of the season, the reason that Utah was losing was power plays, and everybody talks about it. When you get to the playoffs, it comes down to special teams and goaltending. And I thought our goaltending needed, like I said before, we needed 3 or 4 more saves. And I'm trying to find Veggie's stats right here on tonight. I don't have him tonight, but he's about 87% in the playoffs. And so, some fine tuning there, some better performances on the power play. If Forsyth is there again next year, hopefully he comes with a whole new plan. I kind of find it hard to think that he would be there that next year, because you have to change things when they don't work in the playoffs. As the team progresses, a couple players are going to come up on unrestricted free agent or even restricted free agent, and you have to replace those guys with players that are going to perform better. And luckily, Utah has so many players in the pipeline coming up that are going to want those spots. But that's some give and take, right? You're getting some 19-year-olds that are going to come in next year and probably make the roster. I think Cole Baudouin, I think probably Denoyer has a real good shot at making the roster, and that'll just get these guys better. That's more scoring depth. And if you look at the score, like to have so many players, had 6 players with 20 points or 20 goals this season, and you had, even in the playoffs, you had contributions from everybody. Yamamoto, and you had Uyghur scoring goals. So your top 6 weren't scoring all your goals, which sounds like a horrible thing, but it's a good thing in the playoffs. You're getting contributions from everybody. So I think all in all, Utah learned a lot. I think Utah fans learned a ton about how emotionally draining and how much fun playoffs can be for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I'm at my daughter's house right now, and she said, "Oh, well, aren't we kind of happy for Vegas? Weren't they our favorite team a couple of years ago?" And we're like, "No,
not anymore."
No, it's all Utah now, and we're 100% into this. And I just hope I hope all the Utah fans understand that and had a bunch of fun with it, and know that's a huge improvement from last season to get to where Utah got this year. And I think they can make that similar improvement. Coach Torini's got a history of being 7 points better every year. And if that happens again next year, that's 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
I want to get your thoughts. I know you and I on the show we'll have a lot of opportunities to kind of break down the offseason, but I'm not going to lie. I'm playing favorites here a little bit. What's the market for Yamamoto as a free agent, and what do you think it will take for the Mammoth to keep him? Is that a priority for them in the offseason?
Yeah, I think it is. I think Yamamoto really proved himself. I think all season and definitely the playoffs, not just with that goal tonight, but I think the intangibles he was doing out there, Carcone was the same way. And I think you can keep him for $1 million, which is nothing, right? To get a depth player like him for $1 million, or even if it's $1.5 million, I think he's somebody that you need to keep around as you start developing those other players. To have somebody that works as hard as he does, and as reads, he was reading so many plays so well, and I think he just didn't have the other support he needed at times. I mean, sometimes he was out there with O'Brien, and who's a great player. Don't get me wrong. It's just that's not the fit, right? And I thought Carcone and Yamamoto just were such an inspirational story all year that I think Yamamoto needs to stay in Utah. And he became one of my favorite players all year. I loved his effort. I loved his IQ. And I really think, but he's not going to ask a lot either. And I think he wants to stay here. And, he paid his price by going to the minors the year before. He spent almost the entire season last year playing in Tucson. And that's a guy that's a first-round draft pick that played for the Edmonton Oilers. So you can see my son in the back keeping my daughter's really aggressive cat from making an appearance today.
Yeah.
So, I think Yamamoto's a good fit.
Jack McBain got in the lineup for the first time in this series. Were you able to keep an eye on him, and what did you see?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I saw McBain that was playing a little bit hurt, and you could tell he was on some pain management. That's the other thing I want to talk about is, when 2 of your top 6 players are not in the lineup for most of the playoffs, you got McBain for 2 games and you got Barrett Hayton for 1 game. So that's a real negative for Utah. That's a big hill to climb over, right? McBain is healthy. When he's healthy, he is a huge part of this team, and he is your prototypical playoff build. He's got that playoff body that you need. You need him and Krause out there banging bodies, and Ian Cole did all he could on the back end. But I thought McBain played about 70% of his ability tonight.
So 5-1 the final in this one. And, this is as we mentioned, not an easy way to end the season. Emotions are raw. But I do think when you look back and you think about how successful this season was and what this team was able to accomplish, considering where they're at and their progression. And that's the one thing Bill Armstrong has always talked about. He's, last year, he didn't say the goal was the playoffs. He said it was, get better, be on the door, be knocking on the door. And then this year he said, yes, the goal is the playoffs, and they got there. It'll be interesting to see at locker room clean out or, in training camp leading into the season, what he says the goals will be next year, because every year they just want to keep taking those steps. Obviously, a lot of things to address in the offseason, but you fully anticipate this team will be, as you mentioned, 7-8 points better going into hopefully the playoffs next year.
Yeah, and the draft is coming up. This will be the first time for Bill Armstrong in a long time that he's not drafted in the top 10, and that's a good thing, right? They've got enough. They've got enough guys in the system now that they're going to be good, and this is the first time they've been successful in several years in this, with the Coyotes before and to the last 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see what they pick up in the draft. And that's right around the corner. So things are going to pick up right away. You'll have draft and dev camp. We'll start talking about all these young guys that are coming into the lineup. But all in all, this is what they were built for. This was the goal. You're exactly right. They reached exactly what they wanted to reach. Obviously, it would have been amazing for them to run the whole way or make it to the second round or win the cup. All those are Cinderella stories. I was believing in some of it when they went up 2-1. But I know 7 games is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a big series. But yeah, a lot of fun this year and a lot of goals were hit. And I think playoffs just, it flushes, it brings everything to the surface that you need to change. And I saw some things that need to change, and hopefully they find those parts in this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, and this is also too where, Chris Armstrong and Bill Armstrong and Coach Tierney, those are hard conversations with guys as they clean out the lockers and realize, okay, this is going to sit with you for 6 months. Like this feeling is going to go away. And as you go and see your family and go on vacation, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh man, we had so many opportunities in that series against Vegas and we let it get away. And that's going to stew and that's going to simmer. And hopefully this team gets better for it going forward, realizing that they were just a moment or two, 52 seconds away in game 5 of going up 3-2. And, that it's a tough pill to swallow, but I think it's a good pill to swallow because this team can lean on that going forward. But you're, to your point, there's a lot of things that'll be addressed. I'm not exactly sure what those will be, but we do know that, this is, this roster and this coaching staff is currently constituted will probably have some adjustments. It happens every year. And so how does this team improve? What do they go after? What do they try to accomplish? They're, I think, significantly under the cap, like $15-16 million under the cap. So there's some room there. They have their first round picks, and they got players on young contracts. So there's some ammunition there for some fireworks in the offseason.
Yeah, they've done a really good job at building this team to be good for a long time with a lot of youth coming in. They've got some senior guys that can teach these young guys. And one thing that I'm going to compare this to the fire department, because we hire guys on and everything seems like it goes a million miles an hour for them. And just as they get comfortable as being a firefighter EMT, we promote them to paramedic or to hazmat tech. And then they get in that seat and everything's a million miles an hour and they feel like everything's coming at them too fast. And then as they're in that seat a little bit longer, everything calms down and they can read it better and they feel like they have more time. And then we promote them again to captain. And you're like, oh, now everything's coming a million miles an hour. I remember when I first got promoted to captain my first house fire, I felt like I didn't even have time to get my air pack on because I had so many other things going on. I think that's just like the playoffs. I think you have the regular season and you catch up to it and you figure out, this is my game. And then you get into the playoffs and you're like, everything's coming at me a million miles an hour. I'm not getting the breakaways. I'm not getting those little extra chances that I normally get. And but now they've got that experience and now they know. So next time they're there, it's going to slow down for them a little bit. They'll be able to read the plays better. They'll be able to be in the right position better, find that open space a little bit better. And then we've got all these younger guys coming in. So they're built to be good for a long time. And I'm excited. I'm disappointed right now, but I'm excited about the future.
Well, I've had a blast doing this, Jay, and I've learned more about hockey being around you, and can't thank you enough for all the help you've given us and our audience over the last couple of years. And let's just keep it rolling. Maybe we put together a few of these in the off season when some big news comes down.
I'm for it. I love talking to you, and I love talking about hockey.
Let's do it. Hey, big thanks. That's Jay Stevens. Mammoth lose. Season comes to an end, but hey, September, October can't get here fast enough. We'll get this thing going in year number 3. That's Jay Stevens. I'm Scott Gerard. You've been listening to 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone and KSLSports.com.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life's sleep.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams sale and get 30% off Duration, Woodscapes, and Super Deck products May 1st through the 11th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.